Hello and welcome to Levels of Grid Governance. I'm Adam Reed from the Renewable and Sustainable Energy Institute in Boulder, Colorado, USA. We'll continue our exploration of the grid as a complex, multi-agent environment in this lecture on the governance of the grid. What is grid governance? Simply and broadly put, it's the collection of entities, private, collaborative, governmental, and public, that decide how we operate and manage the power system, both now and in the future through planning. What kinds of generation and transmission do we build, and where? How much do we charge for it? How do we ensure the system's reliability and environmental sustainability? All of these questions involve the governance of the grid, and each one of these concerns involves multiple entities that may align with or oppose one another at one time or another. The electrical grid is more than a series of generators, wires, substations, and meters. It's an immense socio-technical system that delivers a critical resource, the biggest machine in the world. Consequently, we govern the grid in a variety of different ways, which reflect the various demands we place on the grid. It has to be reliable and secure, capable of providing power whenever consumers demand it. It has to be equitable, providing energy in ways that are fair and affordable to all, and opinions differ as to what is fair and affordable. Increasingly, it has to be green, accommodating intermittent generation from renewables and providing ways for consumers to feed distributed energy back into the grid and control consumption more specifically. At present, we have at least 5 competing and often opposed concerns vying for control of the grid. A system that is cheap is not necessarily green. A system that's open to many players isn't necessarily secure. A system with a lot of renewable energy may produce reliability concerns and require transmission that is difficult to pay for. We'll cover 3 of these governance levels here that directly affect energy market operations: reliability, dispatch, and environmental mandates. The reliability layer of grid governance is concerned with keeping the system operating without interruption or damage. Each balancing area of the grid is responsible for maintaining the instantaneous balance of generation and load, or supply and demand, within a particular balancing area. Typically, reliability governance is performed by a separate entity from the grid operator, and has the power to levy large fines on operators if they deviate from various frequency and voltage performance standards. System operators seeking to avoid such fines are thus incentivized to keep reserve generators running to provide frequency regulation, spinning reserve, and supplemental reserve. In previous modules, we covered this from the perspective of a single system operator. Increasingly, though, system operators may procure reserves from neighboring utilities or other generators through special ancillary service markets. We'll cover these in a special topic in a later lecture. The next level of grid governance is the dispatch level, where we decide which resources get onto the grid when they serve load. This service is performed by system operators and transmission operators. In the old days, this would typically involve a unified system operator who was, in fact, the local vertically integrated electric utility. The utility would dispatch its generation according to the least cost of generation and transmission. Everything changed, however, when new laws in many countries restructured wholesale energy markets into competitive arenas. Incumbent utilities had an incentive to discriminate against non-utility generators and to favor the utility's own generation. Consequently, laws prohibited such discrimination, and governments encouraged the formation of independent regional entities to manage both generation dispatch and transmission scheduling so as to provide a level playing field for market participants. Such entities run bid processes to schedule competing generators a day, an hour, or several minutes in advance, and also call on generators in real time to provide balancing energy to maintain compliance with reliability standards. Just as the dispatch and scheduling level interacts with the reliability level, both levels must in turn respond to environmental policies like renewable portfolio standards, tax credits for renewable energy, feed-in tariffs, carbon taxes, cap-and-trade schemes, clean air and water regulation for conventional power plants, and many others covered in a separate module in this course. These are exogenous requirements imposed on the power system and its various operators by the society that it serves. For our purposes here, the importance of environmental and renewable energy policies to grid governance is the way in which these policies change dispatch and transmission scheduling operations. Feed-in tariffs, for example, may require system operators to take solar or wind power whenever they are being generated, which changes the dispatch operations with respect to controllable generation. In the next webinar, we'll look at how organized energy markets operate, and specifically how dispatch and environmental policies interact with those operations. Thank you for your attention.